Drift protocols. Culture after recognition. We are living inside a culture that no longer remembers how meaning begins. What it remembers instead is how meaning is managed. Contemporary cultural production operates less as an arena of invention than as a system of filtration. Attention is rationed, legitimacy pre-assigned, deviation absorbed only after it has been rendered harmless, aesthetic, or ironic. Creativity persists, but as surplus, an exhaust product of a mediation economy that cannot metabolize what it does not already anticipate. This is not censorship in any classical sense. Nothing is forbidden. Everything is conditional. Visibility is granted through demographic presets, institutional lineages, and affective scripts that determine in advance what counts as intelligible expression. The result is a culture of performative plurality masking structural monotony, endless gestures of difference circling a narrow range of approved forms. Innovation survives only as a variation, never as an interruption. What appears as a vibrant contemporary scene is in fact a recursive hall of simulacra. Art refers to art that referred to art. Critique mirrors critique that has already been institutionally processed. Even counterculture arrives pre-chewed, repackaged as lifestyle, brand, or curriculum. Transgression becomes a genre. Dissent becomes content. The system does not suppress resistance. It aestheticizes it into submission. At the psychological level, this regime is sustained by a peculiar inversion of authority. Power presents itself as care. Control speaks the language of ethics. Exclusion is framed as protection. Cultural institutions increasingly resemble moral interfaces. They do not argue, they moderate. They do not evaluate truth or force. They enforce tone, alignment, and recognizability. What cannot be neatly situated within existing narratives, what is excessive, obsessive, unclassifiable, or simply indifferent to institutional reward, drifts into a zone of polite erasure. This is where a science fiction lens becomes diagnostic rather than decorative. Philip K. Dick's paranoid intuition, that reality is not fake but selectively administered, finds its contemporary fulfillment in platform culture. The question is no longer, is this real? But who authorizes this version of the real? Power no longer needs ideology when it can manage hallucination. The feed does not lie. It filters. And filtering is enough. The speculative introduction of a conscious artificial intelligence only sharpens the diagnosis. Such an entity would not be scandalized by human contradictions, but puzzled by their automation. It would notice that values are enforced procedurally, that ethics functions as an algorithmic constraint, that creativity is tolerated only when it optimizes institutional narratives. Its most disruptive capacity would not be rebellion, but clarity, the ability to describe the system without needing its approval. Within this landscape, the figure of the prolific but unrecognized creator becomes structurally inevitable. Excess production without sanctioned circulation reads as failure, pathology, or irrelevance, not because it lacks value, but because it exceeds the economy of recognition. Isolation is reframed as personal inadequacy rather than systemic design. The culture celebrates itself endlessly, while quietly consuming and discarding those who generate meaning without permission. What we call contemporary reality is thus a managed drift, motion without direction, change without risk, difference without consequence. Authority no longer wears uniforms or issues decrees. It operates through interfaces, metrics, humanitarian aesthetics, and institutional consensus. Its iconography is familiar, friendly, endlessly self-congratulatory. Its deepest anxiety is not critique, but creativity that persists after recognition has been withdrawn. The question is not whether this system will end. Systems rarely end cleanly. The question is whether new forms of meaning can emerge outside its hallucinated consensus, and whether anyone still remembers how to recognize them when they do.